Alright, hi everyone. So, interesting coincidence, I accidentally read chapter 4 first instead of chapter 3. So, in the next video that you watch with me, Kelton, reading the book, it's gonna be kind of weird, some of the comments I make at the very beginning. It's like in time inception thing. Anyway, I've also realized that my laptop camera is not the best, so probably not going to use it any longer. Bless you, Sid. But, yeah. Let me read chapter 3 for you real quick so that you can actually watch something tonight. A possum is never cute. They're one of the rare animals that even has ugly ass babies. Dad told me once that possums are loners because they're smart enough not to live in the same area as another possum, so they're not competing for food. But I think it's because they can't stand looking at each other. Regardless, that face doesn't look good on anything, and it's even worse when it's the first thing I see when I wake up. It doesn't help that it's chewing on my foot. Motherfucker, I yell, grabbing for the first thing my hands comes to, which happens to be a stick. Possum is long gone by the time I pitch it, clocking my foot instead and sending a wave of pain through my body that leaves me sweating in the pale light of the early morning. Shit. There's a lot of problems with what's just happened. For one thing, a possum bit me. Getting chewed on by anything is never good, no matter what did it or where they got you. But what bothers me more is that I didn't feel it. I crawl up from under my shelter, knees dragging through the ashes of the fire I made the night before. The sun is barely there, mist not yet burned off, hanging all around me. Walking is like swimming. My face is wet and my hair stuck to my neck by the time I get down to the stream. Something bolts as I slide down the bank. Something big enough that bushes move in its wake. Birds break from its stumbles. Or birds break from their slumber. You'll learn in the next video that I'm not a very good reader. I do enjoy that. But I don't see any prints other than deer and raccoon in the soft mud, so I find a good spot to learn bad news. Set my crutch aside, strip the t-shirt bandage from my foot. The smell gets me first. I noticed it yesterday. It was hard to pinpoint. And in spring, all kinds of things are rotting in the woods. Everything that died during the winter waits a few months to rot, and then those of us that made it through get to smell the results. Spring is funny that way. Popping with life and color as bulbs come up and trees flower, but underneath of it all is a scummy film of death. If you know how to spot it. I know. I happen to be drinking the same tea I'll be drinking a week from now. I think maybe deep down, I knew it yesterday, but didn't want to think about it too hard. Once when I went grocery shopping with our first of the month check, I grabbed a can of tuna that should have never made the shelf. I was pushing my cart, trying to find a way around the old lady on her scooter in front of me. Damn, she was rank. I drove home with a wrinkled nose, bad words in my mouth, because apparently just moving through her stink had been enough for me to carry a whiff about it with me. It wasn't until I was carrying a bag into the trailer that I realized it was my punctured tuna can that smelled the whole time, and that old lady had probably been pushing that electric motor to its limits to try to get it away from me. And now here I am in the woods, thinking something had to go and die where I camped for the night, and the whole time it's my own foot rotting at the end of my leg. Damn it, I say. Looking down at what's left of me. There are teeth marks in my fourth toe, and my pinky is almost gone. This little piggy cried, wee, 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 I say to myself, grimly touching the stump of what used to be my toe. Possums are industrious scavengers, but they're also too lazy to kill things themselves. They'd rather snack on someone else's kill 2 days after they were done with it than do the jobs themselves. That's what the possums. That's what the possum thought I was. Dead meat. And I guess it was half right. The crushed part of my foot is a sickly shade of gray, something I didn't notice by firelight. The skin is cold and doesn't move when I touch it, refusing to make soft ridges and rolls the way Duke's back always did when I was giving him a rub. My foot is a dead thing, not bleeding, unfeeling. I bend down and sniff, coming back up real quick when I get a nose full of the stink I'm giving off. Better this than still bleeding like a stuck pig. Between this and still bleeding like a stuck pig, I'm going to attract all kinds of things wanting to take a bite. I pull up my pants leg to see that predators are the least of my worries. There's a strain of red running up my ankle, the swell of a hot infection close behind. I sink my foot in the stream and lean back to look at the sky. It's going to have to come off. That's not going to be fun. Like the worm whose world went from unlimited to a small piece of dirt to the inside of my stomach, my world has changed drastically. The first day out, all I thought of was home. I'd break out of trees and onto the road, hobbling along until a driver found me. Had to ride into town, get my foot seen too. Then go to my own bed, lie down in it. The second day I was hoping to hit a trail looking for white blazes. Now I'm picking a tree, taking a rest when I get to it, and then aiming for another one. Yesterday I wanted to make 2 miles. Today I'm just aiming for the next maple. All I could do is hope I'm headed somewhat west. The clouds have been constant, a thick gray haze that won't let me get a good read on the sun, make much use of a shadow stick, or allow its rays to even really warm me. When I do get sweaty, it's a slick kind of feeling, like maybe I'm sweating not because I'm too hot, but because I'm getting sick. My foot is back in the sling up off the ground, even though I know it doesn't matter one way or the other. To the dead part, the living tissue is swelling, and keeping it elevated is the only thing I can really do right now. When I sat out this morning, the crutch rubbing the raw spot on my back, I was thinking I had to get somewhere now. Like maybe I'd been playing in the last 2 days having an adventure. Like maybe I was just decided to find the trail, then the road, then the help. None of that's true, and so by midday I'm in a puddle under an oak, my chest hitching as I decided whether I was going to cry. I land near a pile of clovers, which is lucky not because any of them have 4 leaves, but because they're edible. I pull them up in handfuls, chewing and swallowing carefully until my stomach complains again. Clothes can keep me from starving, but I'm burning off more than what I'm taking in, covering miles with a rotten foot and not much in my stomach. I won't die from hunger, but I'm not going to put on any weight either. I noticed this morning that my pants were sagging more than usual, hugging hips that aren't quite what they used to be. My body's already started digesting itself, breaking down my fat reserves, using them to keep me moving. Next it'll move on to muscles, and I need those. Shit, I say to the sky, watching a break in the cloud cover overhead. I've got to get back up, move forward, even though I don't know what I'm moving toward. The only thing I can say for sure is that I haven't seen a hint of another human for days. Never in my life have I wished for litter, but a forgotten water bottle or tossed pop can wouldn't be taken amiss right now. Usually that stuff is all over. Cans, bottles, chip bags, candy wrappers. Anything people can carry and eat, they leave them behind. Duke and I hated it. This casual disrespect. Anybody that loved the woods enough to come spend time in it ought to know better than to trash it. But there was always something blowing in the wind or floating past in the stream, stuff that wouldn't break down in a million years, only get bleached out by the sun. Its color the one thing to leave naturally. That's why I used to wander off sometimes. If Duke wasn't with me, I'd start somewhere on public land, but that's not always an easy way to tell that when you've stepped onto private areas. But there's not always an easy way to tell when you've stepped into private areas. And to be honest, I was never looking too hard for signs anyway. Places with no people, or the leavings of them, were sacred to me, offering a distinct sense of being alone that I couldn't achieve with power walkers moving past me, neon shoes flashing as they bitched about their neighbors. I guess I was always looking for solitude. I've got that now in spades. You've got to get up, I say aloud, hoping it'll be more motivating that way. It's true. Whether I only say it in my head or put a voice to it, there's no energy left in me, no strength in my legs or my arms. But I do it anyway because I've decided that's what I'm going to do, and I can be real stubborn. Living things will fight to stay that way. When I was little, we had a trampoline, a ratty old one that some relative thought trashed up their yard, so they donated it to us out of the kindness of their tiny hearts. I loved it, and Dad could give less of a shit about the yard, so I spent most of the summer I turned 11 trying to see if I could bounce myself onto the roof of the trailer. I managed once, and Dad came out red in the face, told me I was likely to fall right through the ceiling, and then how much rain would come in. After that, I kept to aiming for branches of the elm that hung nearby, grabbing one when I could reach it, and hanging there for as long as my bony little arms could take it. I was right at the quivering stage and about to let go when I spotted a raccoon moving through the field across the way. It was slow moving and funny. It was a bright day. You don't see raccoons out during the day unless there's something wrong with it. This one had more than a few problems. Distemper was the first. The second was a buzzard falling behind, waiting for him to die. He walked patient as anything, matching the sick coon step for step. The raccoon knew it was there, kept looking over his shoulder every now and then. I dropped from the elm, ran inside and grabbed Dad's 12 gauge. There wasn't anything left of that buzzard but a beak and a few feathers after I took my shot. Then I put the raccoon out of its misery. I wanted him to see the buzzard die first. I wanted him to know that every step he had taken with death on his heels hadn't been taken in vain. He had fought for each one, walking toward nothing but knowing he couldn't stop. So I let him see it was worth it in the end. And now here I am, doing the same. And I admit, I've never taken to looking over my shoulder to make sure nothing is following me. I come across water about a mile later, and a nice rocky overhang that I can sleep under tonight in case it rains again. It's not late yet, barely evening, but I've got nothing left of me except tears, so I collapse next to the water. Not so much drinking as opening my mouth and letting water flow in. There's a bit of pulsarline some kind of plant, I'm assuming, clinging to the rocky bank, and some tendrils of wild grapevines hang down from the maple they're climbing. It's too early for them to have fruit, but the leaves are edible, as is the purslane. The rule with plants is everything tastes better boiled, but while I have water and I can make a fire, I don't have anything to boil it in. I make another fire, burning a hole next to the first one in my fireboard, hoping I don't have to make too many more before I'm out. All of this is said and done. I can't even raise my arms by the time I get a flame, so I just sit there using my good foot to scoot dead leaves towards the lit fire I've got going, while I wait for some strength to return. Enough to gather some wood, enough to keep me from shivering tonight, which is nothing but a waste of energy. I lie down before full dark, cold around my little bit of fire I managed to make, my head in my arms. I scooted out past the edge of the overhang so I could see the stars. There amongst them, a red blinking dot. It's a plane 3 miles above me and moving fast. Everyone on board fed, warm, healthy, and safe. They're thinking about where they're going or where they're coming from, the people they've left and are going to. It's the closest I've been to a human being in days, and they have no idea I'm down here, dying. Alright, so there we go. I've now read chapter 3 first, second, to then post first. So I hope you all enjoy it. And I'll be seeing you next week.